The first thought Elara Voss heard after waking from the elevator crash did not belong to her. It belonged to the man crying beside her bed. Julian Marlow held her hand with both of his shoulders shaking beneath an expensive black coat. "Elara, I thought I'd lost you." His face was wet with tears. His mind was not. "If she wakes up confused, I can make her sign the proxy before her husband arrives. Cry harder." She always believed tears meant sincerity. Elara stopped breathing. Julian lowered his forehead to her fingers. "I came the moment I heard." The voice inside his head continued. 5 years of pretending not to care, and she still married that useless engineer. Once Adrian is gone, Voss Dynamics and the orbital contracts will finally be mine. Elara stared at the white hospital ceiling. A machine beside her measured the sudden rise in her pulse. Julian looked up. "Does it hurt?" She had known him since childhood. He was gentle, artistic, and apparently too proud to care about money. At least, that was the man she believed she knew. The man inside his own head was calculating how much of her company he could control before lunch. The door opened. Adrian Hale entered, carrying a paper cup and a thin gray folder. He was still wearing the same blood-stained shirt from the accident. Unlike Julian, he did not rush toward the bed. He placed the cup on the table and looked at the monitor. "You're awake." His voice was calm. His thoughts struck her like a second collision. Good. She survived this time. This time? Elara's fingers tightened beneath the blanket. Adrian opened the folder. The first page was titled, "Petition for Divorce." His mind continued. "Once she signs, I can return to the university, keep Mia away from Julian, and leave the country before the explosion on October 9th. October 9th was 3 months away. Mia was Adrian's younger sister, and no explosion had happened. Elara turned toward him. Adrian mistook her stare for anger. "I know the timing is unpleasant," he said. "You can read it after the doctor clears you." Julian slowly released her hand. "Divorce?" Adrian looked at him. "You sound surprised. Elara was nearly killed. That is why I waited until she woke up." Julian's eyes filled again. "Elara, you don't have to listen to him. I'll stay with you." His thoughts were colder. Make him angry. If he causes a scene, the board will believe he staged the crash. Adrian's mind answered without a word. Same performance, same tears. Last time she defended him and called me jealous. I don't care anymore. Elara looked from one man to the other. One wanted her company. The other remembered a future in which someone died. She lifted her uninjured hand. Then she slapped Julian across the face. The sound silenced the room. Julian stumbled backward. Adrian nearly dropped the folder. "Elara?" She looked at Julian's stunned expression. "If you cry one more time," she said, "I'll ask the nurse to check whether you damaged something important." His thoughts exploded. What is wrong with her? She has never raised her voice at me. Elara's headache sharpened. Every mind in the corridor had become a whisper behind the walls. Nurses worried about medication. A security guard wanted coffee. Her mother was arguing with a doctor. Only Adrian's thoughts arrived clearly, as though he were standing inside her skull. In the previous life, she slapped me when Julian cried. Previous life. Elara understood two things at once. She could hear thoughts, and her husband had lived this day before. Julian touched his cheek. "You hit me." "I noticed." "But why?" "Because I wanted to." Adrian studied her with open suspicion. The Elara he remembered would never embarrass Julian. That thought hurt more than she expected. Elara pointed toward the door. "Leave." Julian looked wounded. "You need someone who understands you." "I need silence." His gaze moved toward Adrian. "This is because of him." "No," Elara said. "This is because you are still here."
Julian left with his jaw tight. The moment the door closed, the other voices faded. Only Adrian's remained. That was new. Elara could still hear him. He poured water into the paper cup and placed a straw inside. You should drink slowly. His thoughts were entirely different. Don't touch her unless she asks. Last time she said even my concern felt like control. Elara accepted the cup. Why are you divorcing me? Adrian sat beside the window. We were married yesterday. I remember. Most people wait longer than 24 hours. Most people marry someone who wants them. She held his gaze. Do you think I don't? His expression did not change. His mind did. In 3 years, you will sign the papers with Julian standing behind you. You will accuse me of stealing your patents, and Mia will die because I am too busy proving my innocence to answer her call.
Elara's hand shook. Water spilled onto the blanket. Adrian stood immediately, then stopped himself from reaching for her. Are you dizzy? What happened to Mia? The room went silent. He stared at her. I didn't mention Mia. You were thinking about her? Adrian's face emptied. For several seconds, his mind disappeared completely. Then one thought surfaced. Impossible. Elara pressed a hand to her temple. I can hear you. He looked toward the door, the ceiling camera, and finally the medical monitor. Did the doctor give you anything unusual? You believe you returned from the future. My first love is planning to steal my company, and your sister dies on October 9th. The color left his face. Elara expected denial. Instead, Adrian moved to the door and locked it. What else did you hear? Enough. He lowered his voice. This is not safe. For whom? For you, if Julian discovers it. For me, if you repeat anything I remember before it happens. You think I'll tell him? In my experience, yes. The answer was quiet. It still cut. Elara looked at the divorce papers. What did I do to you? Adrian leaned against the wall. You don't want the answer while you're injured. I asked. His thoughts came first. You believed Julian every time. You made me leave the research institute. You let your mother control my money. You signed Mia's surgery fund over to a shell company. You called my warnings obsession until Julian's factory killed 12 people. His spoken answer was shorter. We were unhappy. Elara closed her eyes. That is not enough. It is enough for divorce. Her mother's voice sounded outside. Adrian unlocked the door. Victoria Voss entered with 2 lawyers, 3 assistants, and the confidence of someone who believed hospitals were badly managed offices. Her gaze landed on the gray folder. What is that? My divorce petition, Adrian said. Victoria's expression turned almost pleased. At least one problem is solving itself. Elara heard her thought immediately. Good. Once he leaves, the marriage shares return to family control. We can announce Julian after the quarterly vote. Elara opened her eyes. Her mother loved power more honestly than Julian did. Victoria walked to the bed. Darling, the board meeting is tomorrow. We only need your signature on a temporary voting proxy. One lawyer placed a document beside the divorce papers. The proxy transferred Elara's voting authority to Victoria. Julian's plan had already begun. Elara picked up the document, then tore it in half. Her mother froze. What are you doing? Recovering. You cannot manage the company from a hospital. Then the board can wait. Victoria looked at Adrian. What did you say to her? His thoughts carried tired amusement. Of course, if Elara disagrees, someone must have manipulated her. Elara held out the divorce folder. Take this too. Adrian approached. She placed it beneath her pillow. I did not say sign it. His eyebrows rose. Victoria's face darkened. Elara, you have been married for 1 day. Do not begin humiliating the family already.
Adrian turned toward the door. I'll return when she is discharged. Elara heard what he did not say. If I stay, she will keep asking. If she keeps asking, I may start hoping. I did that once. I cannot survive it twice. Adrian, she said. He stopped. Stay until the doctor returns. Victoria looked offended. Adrian looked trapped. His mind whispered one word. Why? Elara did not know how to answer, so she said, You brought the only coffee in this room. Victoria left after threatening 6 different departments. Adrian sat again. Neither of them spoke until the doctor completed the examination. Elara had a concussion, 2 cracked ribs, and a fractured wrist. She would remain hospitalized for 4 days. Adrian listened carefully to every instruction. His thoughts supplied details before the doctor said them. Last time she refused pain medication because Julian said it made her weak. She collapsed during the board call. The doctor held out a tablet. Elara swallowed it without argument. Adrian watched her. You hate those. I changed my mind. That happened quickly. So did the elevator. The corner of his mouth moved. It was the first time she had seen him almost smile. That evening, Adrian slept in the visitor's chair. Elara watched him beneath the dim light. She had married him because her grandfather's will required it. Adrian's family once owned a respected engineering company, but a failed launch destroyed their fortune. Victoria called him a fallen heir with useful manners. Elara had treated the marriage like a legal inconvenience. Adrian had treated it like a promise. Apparently, that promise destroyed him. While he slept, his thoughts became fragments. A laboratory burning. Mia calling his name. Julian standing beside Elara at a press conference. A white-haired woman, herself, placing divorce papers on a table while Adrian's hands shook. Then the final memory. Adrian alone on a bridge, reading news that Voss Dynamics had collapsed. He had died there. Elara sat upright too quickly. Pain cut through her ribs. Adrian woke immediately. What happened? You died. He became still. Not here. In the future. His expression hardened. Stay out of my head. I don't know how. Learn. Anger pushed through his thoughts. Those memories are mine. I already gave her everything else. Elara lowered her voice. I'm sorry. Adrian stared at her. In the first life, she had never apologized. That thought made her feel ashamed. He stood and adjusted the blanket without touching her skin. I'm getting food. Adrian. What? I will not sign the divorce in the hospital. That is not a refusal. No. He waited. She could not promise love after 1 day. She could promise time. Give me 6 months. His laugh held no humor. 6 months for what? To prove I'm not the woman you remember. You are exactly that woman. You simply heard the consequences early. The sentence landed cleanly. He left before she could answer. The next morning, Elara's assistant Nora arrived with a laptop and bad news. Someone had moved $40 million from an aerospace research budget into a supplier named Marlow Aeronautics, Julian's family company. The approval carried Elara's digital signature. Adrian looked over Nora's shoulder. His mind sharpened. There it is, the first transfer. Last time I discovered it after the money was gone. Elara caught the thought. When did you discover this before? Nora blinked. Before? Adrian answered smoothly. She means, when did we first flag the supplier? Elara looked at him. He was protecting the secret. Nora said the transfer had been scheduled by Victoria's office and authorized using Elara's biometric key during the elevator accident.
Julian had arranged the crash to gain access. Adrian's thought followed. The elevator was not supposed to kill her. It was supposed to make her unconscious long enough to approve the proxy. Elara felt cold. Cancel the transfer, she said. Nora hesitated. Your mother has already called the board. Then call them again. Adrian closed the laptop. Do not cancel it. Elara stared. Nora stared harder. Adrian explained. If they know you found it, they will move the real evidence. Approve only the first installment and mark the funds. Nora looked at Elara for permission. In the previous life, Adrian had designed fraud detection systems for launch contracts. Elara had dismissed them as a hobby. Do it, she said. Adrian's mind went quiet. He had expected her to reject him. That small surprise hurt in a different way. At noon, Julian returned carrying lilies. The flowers had made Elara sick since childhood. He had forgotten. Adrian remembered. He removed the vase before Julian reached the bed. Julian smiled sadly. I heard you refused the proxy. Your mother is worried. His thoughts were impatient. Sign something, you stubborn woman. I need access before the audit closes. Elara looked at the flowers. What is my favorite color? Julian blinked. What? You've known me 15 years. Blue. It was green. Adrian's thought answered instantly. Dark green, like the scarf she wore the day her grandfather taught her to skate. Elara looked at her husband. He was studying the window. Julian tried to laugh. You're testing me after a head injury? No, I'm measuring how little you needed to know before I trusted you. His smile disappeared. Elara, whatever Adrian told you. She slapped him again. This time Adrian did drop his coffee. Julian stared at her. What was that for? The flowers. You hit me because of flowers? No, I hit you because the first one did not improve your behavior. Security escorted him out. Adrian picked up the cup. You cannot solve corporate fraud by slapping the suspect. I can improve morale. He laughed, a real laugh this time. It lasted only a second. Elara wanted to hear it again. On her final day in the hospital, Adrian brought the divorce folder. He placed it beside her discharge papers. You promised to wait until you left. I promised not to sign in the hospital. Elara, I need 6 months. I need a life. I know. His mind responded. No, you know a summary. She took a breath. Return to Halcyon University. He froze. You withdrew because Victoria required you to work inside Voss Dynamics. That condition ends today. I don't need permission. No, you need your research files, which my company still owns. His jaw tightened. She continued. I'll release them. No conditions. His suspicion remained. Why? Because they are yours. That answer reached him. Not enough to restore trust. Enough to delay the door closing. He picked up the divorce folder.
6 months, he said. Separate rooms. Separate finances. No interference in my university work.
Agreed.
And if I still want the divorce?
I sign. His mind whispered, she will change her mind when Julian cries again. Elara looked toward the door where Julian had stood. No, she said quietly. I won't. They returned to the Voss estate. Adrian moved into the eastern guest wing. Elara moved her office there 3 days later. He found her desk blocking the corridor. What are you doing? Working. Your office is on the west side. The network signal is better here. It is identical. Then the lighting. You own the building. She looked at him over her laptop. Are you asking me to leave? His thoughts became flustered. Yes. No. Why is she sitting outside my room with white hair everywhere like a territorial ghost? Elara nearly smiled. You called me a ghost. I said nothing. You thought it loudly. He closed his eyes. This ability is unethical. I agree.
Stop listening. I am trying.
She was not trying very hard. Adrian returned to university and reopened his abandoned propulsion laboratory. His friend Leo greeted him by throwing a wrench that Adrian caught without looking.
You disappeared for a wedding and returned married to Elara Voss. It was a private ceremony. You married the most photographed CEO in the country. Privacy failed. Elara stood at the laboratory door. Students went silent when they saw her white hair and security detail. Adrian turned. What are you doing here? Delivering the patents. A lawyer placed 3 boxes on the table. Every design Adrian created before the marriage had been transferred back to his name. Leo opened one folder and whistled. She gave back the ion drive patent. Adrian checked the documents twice. No hidden ownership clause, no repayment condition. His mind became unsettled. She never gives away leverage. Elara heard and felt the truth of it. The old version of her had not.
This is not a gift, she said. It is correction. Adrian looked at her. Thank you. It was formal. It was also the first gratitude he had offered without exhaustion. As Elara left, Leo whispered loudly, Your wife is terrifying. Adrian watched her white hair disappear through the door. His thought followed. She is trying. Elara carried that sentence through 3 board meetings. Julian's fraud grew easier to trace once he believed she still trusted him. The marked payment moved through 2 shell suppliers before reaching a private launch facility. The facility was scheduled to test an unstable fuel cell on October 9th, the same explosion that killed Mia in Adrian's previous life. Mia worked there as a graduate intern. Elara immediately called Adrian. He answered from the laboratory. Where is your sister? Why? Get her out of Marlow Test Center. His mind filled with alarm. How does she know? October 9th, Elara said. I heard it from you. That is 10 weeks away. The fuel cell is already there. Adrian did not argue. They drove to the facility together. Julian met them at the gate. His smile was warm. His thoughts were violent. Who told them? The first test is not until autumn. Elara stepped out of the car. I'm withdrawing Voss funding. Julian spread his hands. Over one accounting delay? Over stolen money, forged approval, and a fuel cell your engineers classified as unstable. Mia appeared behind the security glass. Adrian moved toward her. Julian blocked him. This is a restricted site. Adrian's mind flashed with the memory of a sealed coffin. He shoved Julian aside. Security reached for him. Elara raised her voice. Anyone who touches my husband is dismissed from every Voss-funded facility. The guard stopped. Julian's pleasant expression cracked. You are ruining years of work because he is jealous of me. Adrian looked ready to speak. Elara walked forward first. No, I am ruining your work because it kills people. Julian's thoughts shifted. If she knows about the cell, she may know about the elevator. He took one step backward. Elara heard it. The elevator too, she said. His face changed. That was enough. Police found the damaged brake relay in Julian's private workshop. They also found Mia's forged safety approval. By evening, Julian was under investigation. But Victoria moved before the police could arrest him. She called an emergency board vote and accused Adrian of manipulating Elara after her concussion. Half the directors agreed. Elara entered the boardroom wearing white. Her hair was loose down her back. Adrian waited outside. He refused to become evidence in her defense. Victoria presented medical records, divorce papers, and photographs of Elara visiting Adrian's university. She has abandoned judgment for obsession, Victoria announced. Elara heard the thoughts around the table. Some directors feared instability. Some wanted her position. One wondered how white hair could remain so perfect during a corporate coup. She ignored that one. Victoria turned toward Julian, who had been released pending questioning. He stood slowly. Tears appeared in his eyes. Elara, I never wanted this. I only wanted to protect you from a man who plans to leave. His thoughts were desperate. Cry, mention childhood, make her remember the lake. Elara crossed the room. Julian lifted his chin, expecting comfort. She slapped him for the third time. Several directors stood. Elara looked at the room.
The first slap was personal. This one is supported by audited evidence. Nora activated the screens. The marked payments appeared. Then elevator footage. Then the unstable cell reports. Finally, a recording of Julian instructing an engineer to use Mia Hale's credentials if the test failed. Julian stopped crying. Victoria's face became gray. Elara placed the divorce papers on the table. My husband filed these before learning I could hear his thoughts. He asked for nothing. He returned to school. He refused shares, money, and a board seat. She looked directly at her mother. The men you call ambitious keep trying to leave. The man you call harmless tried to steal everything. The vote changed. Victoria lost control of the board. Julian was arrested before sunset. That should have ended the story. It did not end the marriage. Adrian waited in the empty university laboratory that night. Elara found him packing equipment into a case. You saved Mia, he said. We saved her. You heard the future. You believed me when I warned you. He closed the case. The danger is over. Elara knew what came next. 6 months had not passed. He still intended to leave early. I have a question, she said. Only one? Why did you return? He looked away. I don't know. That is a lie. His mind answered. Because even after everything, the last thing I wished for was one day when she would look at me and see who I was. Elara's chest tightened. Adrian heard nothing from her. That was the cruelty of the gift. She knew every feeling he hid. He had only her actions. I see you, she said. He gave a tired smile. You see memories. I see the man who brought water to a wife he planned to divorce. The brother who remembered one phone call for an entire lifetime. The engineer who chose evidence over revenge. She stepped closer. And I see how much damage I did. Adrian's thoughts trembled. Do not hope. Elara stopped within reach but did not touch him. I am not asking you to forgive the woman from your first life. Convenient. I am asking whether this version of me may earn something different. His silence lasted a long time. Then he removed the divorce folder from his case. Elara's heart stopped. He handed it to her. You promised to sign. She took it. I did. Do you still hear me? Yes. What am I thinking? She swallowed. That you want me to tear it? Adrian looked frightened by his own hope. And what will you do?
Elara tore the folder in half. Then again. The pieces fell across the laboratory floor. That was legally unnecessary, he said. It improved morale. He laughed. The same laugh from the hospital. This time it stayed. 3 months later, Mia joined Adrian's new research team. Voss Dynamics funded the laboratory through an independent grant that Elara could not personally control. Victoria retired from the company after discovering the board no longer considered threats a management strategy. Julian's trial filled the news for weeks. Elara stopped hearing most people's thoughts as her injury healed. By winter, only Adrian's remained. The doctors had no explanation. Adrian called it selective supernatural harassment. Elara called it useful. One evening, he found her standing in the kitchen at 2 a.m, staring at a smoking pan. You burned water, he said. The pan was defective. His mind replied. She can control a satellite company, but not soup. Elara turned. I heard that. I intended you to. He took the pan and opened a window. They had not announced a reconciliation. They had not held another wedding. They were learning ordinary things first. Breakfast, arguments, apologies before resentment became strategy. Adrian returned to his research. Elara learned to ask instead of command. Some nights he still woke from memories of the first life. When that happened, she did not ask what he saw. She sat beside him until his thoughts became quiet. On the anniversary of the elevator crash,
Adrian placed a small box on her desk. Inside was a silver earpiece. "What is this?" "A thought filter." Elara looked at him. "You built technology to stop me hearing you?" "It produces a frequency that interrupts the effect for several hours." She put it on. The voice inside her mind disappeared. For the first time in a year, Adrian stood beside her in complete silence. Elara hated it immediately. He watched her face. "Well?" "I cannot hear you." "That is the design."
What are you thinking?
"You have to ask now." She narrowed her eyes. He smiled. Elara removed the earpiece. His thought returned at once. "I love her." She froze. Adrian's smile vanished. He had forgotten the filter was off. Elara stepped closer. "Say it." His ears turned red. "You heard it. I want to hear you choose the words." Adrian looked toward the door as if escape remained possible. Then he took her hand. "I love you." Ilara's white hair fell over their joined fingers. In his first life, Adrian had loved a woman who never listened. In her second chance, Elara had been forced to hear everything. But the thought that changed them was not Julian's greed, Victoria's ambition, or the future Adrian remembered. It was the quiet truth he had tried hardest to hide.
He had not returned to punish her. He had returned, wanting one day in which she truly saw him. Elara leaned forward and kissed him. When she pulled away, Adrian's mind was completely blank. She smiled. "At last." "At last what?" "Silence." Then his thoughts came rushing back. That was unfair. Do it again. Elara laughed and kissed him a second time.